A French cleat storage system isn't just an incredibly practical addition. It'll also give your shed, garage or workshop some decorative flair. It's a system of near-flat shelves made from timber boards which feature a 45-degree angled edge and are mounted to a vertical wall so you can hang all of your tools and accessories. The beauty of the French cleat system is that all of your toolboxes and storage units are organised, easily accessible and portable. Your tools are always to hand for the next project, so you can take your entire screwdriver or drill bit unit to the spare room to put up a shelf. You can add as many or as few shelves as you like depending on the room you have available, and there's plenty of room to get creative and come up with a design that suits your space. They can even be utilised in a kitchen if you fancy something different. In this video, experienced DIYer Colin, who's been a Wickes customer for over 15 years, is going to show you how to make a French cleat storage system step by step. The materials for this project are all available from Wickes and will take a DIYer with moderate skill approximately 4 hours to build. Look out for this icon during the video for our DIY top tips. There's lots of room for flexibility with the scale of French cleat storage systems, although marine plywood is our recommended choice when it comes to materials. Calculate the dimensions of your space to work out the size and amount of cleats you can accommodate. Measure in 5 inches from the edge along the length of the plywood and mark, then use your long straight edge to scribe a line through the mark. Take your circular saw and align the 0-degree notch with your cutting line. Affix the guide to ensure that your cut stays straight and overhang your plywood so that you don't cut into your workbench. Clamp the plywood into place and cut from one end to the other to cut your first length. Now you can simply loosen the clamps, adjust the plywood so that it overhangs, tighten the clamps again and use the guide to cut another length of the same width and length. Repeat this cutting process to create as many lengths as you need. It's always better to have too many than not enough, so we recommend using as much of the plywood sheet as possible. You can always add additional lengths in the future. Adjust the saw position to 45 degrees. On one of your cut lengths of plywood, measure in 55mm from the edge and make a mark before scribing a cutting line through it. Align the 45-degree notch on the saw with your cutting line and fasten the guide as before. With the cutting line overhanging, clamp the length to the workbench, drill a pilot hole into the length of plywood, countersink it and screw it to the workbench at either end. These holes need to be accurate as they'll be used later on. Now you can remove the clamps and cut the plywood all the way along at a 45-degree angle. Once cut, loosen the screws and remove the plywood length from the workbench. Repeat this process for all of the lengths you cut. You'll be using both lengths, so keep and sort them accordingly. When you're finished cutting, sand all of your lengths to remove any unwanted rough or sharp edges. Measure the space on the wall where you're planning to mount your French cleat system so you can work out how many lengths of timber you need and how big they need to be. Mark your lengths with the relevant measurements. Create an L-shaped extended stop block to save time when cutting your lengths. Once your first length is in position at the chop saw, screw it into place on your workbench. Now you can use it to make consistent cuts without measuring each time. Cut your first length of plywood and check that it's correct. It's a good idea to hold it in place against the wall to make sure it fits. Once you're happy, cut the rest of your lengths to size. Measure and mark the placements of your screws on the back of your lengths before drilling pilot holes. Then flip the length over and countersink the pilot holes. Use the first length as a template to make sure the screw holes are aligned and repeat this process for all of your lengths. Sand both sides of your strips to ensure the holes are smooth. To save time later on, partially insert all of your screws by hand. A good reference point for your highest cleat is to align it with other features on your wall. Use an offcut as a guide for the top of the highest feature and mark a line for the top of your highest cleat. Find the centre point of your space, hold your first strip in position, check that it's level and screw it to the wall. Once it's fitted to the wall, you can remove your offcut guide. To make sure that all of your strips are lined up, butt a long timber offcut up against the end of the first cleat and use it as a temporary guide. Be sure to check that it's vertical before affixing. Once you've installed your first cleat and your guide, repeat the process for your remaining strips. You can measure out and mark each strip individually, or you can create a jig or spacer to save time and maintain even spacing. Now your cleats are all fitted and looking fantastic, you can remove the vertical guide and begin to create your compatible storage units. You can make all sorts of different styles to suit your needs, with bespoke designs to match your tools and materials. Plus, you can make adjustments as your toolbox grows and develops. To help you get started, we're going to show you how to make a storage box that you can hang on your French cleat system. Cut your timber to length and lay out the individual pieces. Roughly assemble it to make sure that all of the pieces fit neatly. Fix the pieces together with PVA glue and mitre adhesive. Apply a strip of PVA along the edge you want to stick, leaving space for a dab of mitre adhesive glue at either end. Once you've positioned the part, spray it with mitre adhesive activator. Once you've glued the parts together, allow a little bit of time for the glue to dry. To make sure that the joints are really secure, take a pin gun and insert pins along the joint where the pieces overlap. Be sure to wipe away any excess glue with a damp cloth while inserting the pins. Continue this process until you've assembled the box. Then you can decide the positions of your dividers before gluing and pinning them into place. Taking one of the narrower 45-degree angled lengths made earlier, cut it to size so it matches the length of your toolbox. Then glue and pin into position on the back of your unit. Pin the dowel handle into place, then give the flat surfaces a sand to make sure that they're nice and smooth. Now you're ready to start making the most of your French cleat storage system. Get creative with hooks, pegs and hanging boxes so you can easily store tools and other items you have lying around. For more inspiration and advice, subscribe to our social channels and visit Wickes online and in store.